Welcome to Let's Talk About Wellness, the podcast from Providers for Healthy Living.
It is 11:45 a.m. You are sitting at your desk, just staring at the clock on your monitor. Your stomach is audibly grumbling, like echoing in the quiet office.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. You skip breakfast, and all you have had all morning is black coffee poured directly into an empty stomach. The acidity is very real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're sitting there watching the minutes tick by, wondering, is this actually a brilliant biological hack, or is this just self-inflicted torture? Like, am I doing something incredible for my cellular health by waiting until noon to eat, or am I just starving myself for some internet trend?
That right there, that is the everyman struggle of the 16-8 protocol. It's that tension between wanting to do the right thing for your body and, just wanting a bagel.
A bagel sounds amazing right now.
It always does. So, the mission for our deep dive today is to completely strip away the intense diet culture noise. We've pulled together a massive stack of research, everything from highly controlled metabolic chamber trials to a landmark Nature Medicine paper, right up to that terrifying American Heart Association abstract that's been making the rounds on social media.
Oh, I definitely want to talk about that abstract.
We will get there, I promise. No hype today, just physiology. We're going to explore exactly how it works, who it genuinely helps, who it harms, and the actual mechanics of what happens when you just stop eating.
Okay, I want to start right at the core of my own anxiety with this whole thing, because I always thought that if you skip meals, you put your body into starvation mode.
Yes, the classic starvation mode.
Yeah, like the idea that your body panics, permanently wrecks your resting metabolic rate, and just starts hoarding fat for the winter.
That is probably the single most pervasive myth out there. And to debunk it, we really need to understand the metabolic switch. Like, what is physiologically happening at hour 12 versus, say, hour 16?
Unpack that for me, because I always just assumed it was a slowdown.
Well, think of the body's energy system like your personal finances. Standard eating, where you're grabbing a meal or a snack every few hours from morning until night, is like living entirely off the pocket change in your wallet.
Okay, so the pocket change is the food I just ate.
Right, specifically glucose. It's quick, it's accessible, and as long as you keep putting more change in your pocket, your body is thrilled to just keep using it. But your body also has a massive, highly secure bank vault full of stored funds.
Which is my stored body fat.
Exactly. And as long as you have pocket change, your body will never, ever bother walking to the bank and opening the vault. When you constantly eat, your body lives in this glycolysis-dominant state. You just never nist the vault.
So fasting is what forces the trip to the bank.
Yes. Enforcing a 16-hour window without food is what forces your body to finally run out of pocket change. Your liver depletes its glycogen reserves. That depletion is the key that opens the vault. Suddenly, lipolysis is activated, and those stored fats are sent to the liver where they're converted into ketone bodies. You've officially made the metabolic switch.
But wait, what about the bank manager? Because I thought insulin plays a role here. Like, if my insulin is high because I just drank a sugary latte,
The bank manager refuses to open the vault.
no matter how much I restrict my other calories.
Precisely. Insulin is the manager that locks the vault. By fasting, you force insulin levels to drop to a baseline where the vault just automatically unlocks. But here is the critical part regarding your metabolism. Rigorous clinical trials have proven that the 16-8 method does not cause some unique permanent decline in your resting metabolic rate.
Wait, really? Are we sure about that?
Very sure. They tested this using metabolic chambers.
Those are those sealed rooms where they measure every single breath a person takes.
Yes, exactly. They measure the exact volume of oxygen consumed and carbon dioxide exhaled to calculate precise energy expenditure. And what they found is that the decline in your metabolic rate during a 16-8 fast is absolutely identical to what happens during traditional calorie counting.
Okay, so you aren't permanently breaking your engine.
No, your metabolism only slows down in proportion to the physical weight and metabolically active lean mass you lose. But here is where it gets genuinely wild. While it doesn't wreck your metabolic rate, the 16-8 protocol drives energy loss through completely non-metabolic pathways.
What does that mean? Non-metabolic pathways.
Well, clinical trials showed a 22.7% increase in fecal energy loss and a 14.5% increase in urinary energy loss compared to people eating on a standard schedule.
Hold on. Are you saying we literally poop out the extra calories?
Basically, yes.
Wait, how on earth am I losing energy that way if my engine isn't slowing down? Is my body just throwing it away? Are we talking about a changing gut transit time or something?
We are talking about fundamental changes to your gastrointestinal mechanics. When you fast for 16 hours, you allow something called the migrating motor complex to activate.
Which is what exactly?
Think of it as your gut's deep cleaning wave. And it only runs when the digestive tract is empty. This sweeping process, combined with the lack of constant food intake, dynamically alters your gut microbiome. Certain bacteria that are highly efficient at extracting every single calorie from your food, they begin to die off.
Oh, wow. So because they die off, my body just absorbs less.
Right. Your gut lining's absorption efficiency slightly decreases. You excrete more metabolic byproducts and unabsorbed energy. It generates a negative energy balance of roughly 45 kilocalories a day purely through excretion without slowing down your internal engine.
That is fascinating. Okay, so everyone listening probably knows the basic premise of the 16-8 protocol. But the question is, why are we all so obsessed with stopping at exactly 8 hours?
That's a great question.
Because if the whole magic trick is just depleting the pocket change to force the bank manager to open the vault, does it actually matter when I do it? Because I am firmly a night owl.
A lot of people are.
If it's just a math equation of 16 hours fasting and 8 hours eating, what is physiologically happening if I shift my window from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.? That way I can actually go out to dinner with my friends.
I know, it is so tempting to view the human body as a simple math equation. But we are deeply tied to the rotation of the Earth. This brings us to chronobiological alignment.
Chronobiological alignment, okay.
Yeah. Your metabolism is governed by light-dark cycles, orchestrated by a tiny region in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN.
So my brain is watching the sun.
Exactly. Nearly every hormone in your body operates on a daily rhythm directed by the SCN. Your insulin sensitivity, your liver's ability to process glucose, even your gastric motility. They all peak in the morning and early afternoon, and they sharply decline as the sun goes down.
So eating a meal at 9 p.m. is fundamentally different to my cells than eating at 9 a.m., even if it's the exact same meal.
Fundamentally different. The science looks at two frameworks here. Early time restricted eating, or ETRE, versus late time restricted eating, LTRE.
And early means what, exactly?
Early TRE means eating from around 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and it is vastly superior. When researchers compared the two, early TRE significantly reduced fasting insulin, lowered fasting blood glucose, and dropped systolic blood pressure by over 6 points.
Wait, without changing what they ate?
Yes, and the kicker is that controlled trials showed these massive metabolic improvements happened even without weight loss. Late TRE, like your 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. idea, did not show these significant glycemic benefits.
Okay, I have to stop you there. Why does the time on the clock change my blood pressure? What is the actual mechanism making my blood vessels react to the sun?
It actually comes down to your kidneys, surprisingly.
My kidneys.
Yeah, your kidneys have their own internal circadian clocks. In the morning, they are perfectly optimized to filter out sodium efficiently. But when you eat a heavy meal at 9 p.m., your insulin spikes. High insulin signals the kidneys to retain sodium.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. Because your kidney's filtration system is essentially powered down for the night, that sodium just stays in your blood. Water follows the sodium, increasing your overall blood volume, and suddenly your blood pressure is physically driving up against your arterial walls.
The biology is fascinating, but let's look at the lifestyle reality check here. Eating dinner at 3 p.m. is socially impossible for most people.
It really is.
Unless you live in a retirement community, you are not eating your final meal of the day in the mid-afternoon.
And that is the absolute crux of clinical sustainability. The science says early TRE is metabolically optimal, but lifestyle feasibility says otherwise. In trials where patients followed the early schedule, they reported losing weight and feeling great, but they also reported sleeping slightly less and taking longer to fall asleep.
Because they were going to bed hungry.
Exactly. On the flip side, when people self-select a wider 10 to 12-hour window that lets them eat a normal dinner, they report better sleep satisfaction and zero hunger at bedtime. It's a compromise. You might sacrifice a tiny bit of metabolic optimization for a schedule you can actually stick to for the next 10 years.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's pivot to the double standard, though, because this is something I see all the time in real life.
The gender differences.
Yeah, I know guys who do this 16-8 protocol and feel like superheroes. But my female friends tried the exact same schedule, and their energy crashed, their hair started thinning, and their menstrual cycles got completely thrown off.
Well,
Why does the exact same physiological math yield such different results?
To understand that double standard, we have to look at the female neuroendocrine system, specifically the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, or HPG axis.
This sounds incredibly complicated.
Let me break it down. I always picture a healthy, premenopausal woman's reproductive system like a highly sensitive, state-of-the-art home security system.
Okay, I'm following.
Deep in the hypothalamus, you have these kisspeptin neurons. Think of them as the primary motion sensors in that security system. They require a steady, predictable pulse of energy hormones like insulin and leptin to function. They are constantly monitoring the perimeter for threats.
And in evolutionary terms, I'm guessing a massive energy deficit is a major threat.
Right, because the security system detects a breach. When a woman engages in aggressive fasting, leptin plummets. The security system sounds the alarm and decides, we don't have enough power to run everything. Cut the power to the non-essential grids.
Oh, wow. So it shuts down ovulation.
Yes, because the body thinks it's entering a famine, and a famine is a terrible time to get pregnant. The kisspeptin neurons stop pulsing. When they stop, the pituitary gland stops sending luteinizing hormone to the ovaries. On top of that, aggressive fasting spikes cortisol, the primary stress hormone.
Which just causes more problems.
Exactly. It triggers an adrenaline response and can actually cause the body to intentionally become insulin resistant to preserve fat around the abdomen, the exact opposite of what you want. Men just don't have this same security system sensitivity. Fit, lean men can fast and see a slight dip in testosterone, but their muscle mass, strength, and energy remain completely intact.
So is the takeaway that women should just avoid the 16-8 method entirely?
Not necessarily, but they have to use cycle syncing. During the follicular phase, days 1 through 14 of the cycle, estrogen is rising. Estrogen makes the body incredibly resilient to stress, and insulin sensitivity is naturally high.
So fasting is okay during those first 2 weeks?
It's generally well tolerated there, but during the luteal phase, from day 15 to 28, progesterone dominates. The body naturally becomes more insulin resistant and highly sensitive to stress. This is when women really need to pause the 16-hour fasts or dial it way back to a gentle 12 hours of fasting and 12 hours of eating.
But there is a massive exception to this rule, isn't there? Like situations where an aggressive fasting window is incredibly beneficial for women's hormonal health.
Absolutely. And the most striking exception is polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS. PCOS is fundamentally driven by hyperinsulinemia, chronically high insulin, which causes the ovaries to overproduce testosterone.
How does that work?
Well, when portal insulin is chronically high, it suppresses the liver's ability to produce a carrier protein called SHBG, or sex hormone binding globulin. Without that carrier protein acting like a sponge, active testosterone just roams free in the bloodstream, causing the classic symptoms of PCOS.
So how does the fasting window actually fix the carrier protein?
In a landmark Nature Medicine study, researchers took women with PCOS and put them on a strict 6-hour eating window.
6 hours. That's intense.
It is. But by enforcing that long 18-hour fast, their portal insulin dropped dramatically. Because the insulin dropped, the liver was finally able to rebound and start producing SHBG again.
Ah, so the sponge came back.
Exactly. That protein scooped up all the free testosterone, significantly reducing their free androgen index. They also improved their HbA1c, which is a key marker for diabetes risk.
That's incredible. Did the women actually stick to it, though?
They did. It was so effective and empowering that 80% of the women in the study planned to continue the protocol long term. That kind of dietary adherence rate is practically unheard of in clinical literature.
80%. That is wild.
It really is. Navigating these deeply personal hormonal nuances can be incredibly overwhelming, which is why having the right clinical guidance is so important. For those of you listening in Ohio who are looking for a safe space and professional support, you can find our team at providersforhealthyliving.com.
Which perfectly segues into the elephant in the room.
I had a feeling we were heading here.
Because if this is so great for PCOS, and if metabolic switching safely unlocks the body's bank vault, why is the news telling me it's going to give me a heart attack? Like, I read a headline from a 2024 American Heart Association abstract that claimed an 8-hour eating window increases the risk of cardiovascular mortality by 91%.
I am so glad you brought this up because that headline caused absolute panic and we need to dismantle it. The AHA abstract was an observational study based on data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. The researchers looked at 20,000 adults over several years.
Okay, 20,000 is a big number.
It is.
Right.
But here is the massive, glaring flaw. They categorized people's eating windows based on just two 24-hour dietary recall questionnaires completed at the very beginning of the study.
What? They tracked 20,000 people over years, but they based the entire 91% mortality risk off what people remembered eating on 2 random days a decade ago. How
Yes.
did that even get published?
They assumed that 2 single days of self-reported eating perfectly reflected decades of stable behavioral habits. Furthermore, they didn't control for dietary quality at all. An 8-hour window filled with donuts and processed meat is going to yield vastly different cardiovascular outcomes than a window filled with salmon, leafy greens, and whole grains.
Okay, but still, 91% is a huge jump. You can't just fake reverse causality on 20,000 people. There has to be something actually causing that data spike.
It comes down to unmeasured confounding variables. We have to ask why these people were only eating for 8 hours a day. The people in that database weren't health-conscious biohackers carefully timing their meals to optimize autophagy.
So who were they?
Many of them were shift workers dealing with chronic sleep deprivation or individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds facing high daily stress. More importantly, many were people suffering from severe chronic illnesses like advanced heart failure, depression, or cancer-associated cachexia.
Oh, I see. When you have advanced cancer or severe heart failure, your appetite naturally disappears.
Precisely. The short eating window wasn't causing the illness. The underlying severe illness was causing the short eating window. It's a textbook case of reverse causality.
Wow. That completely changes how you look at that headline.
Now, does this mean intermittent fasting is completely without risk to the heart? No. But the risk isn't from the clock. The real risk is muscle loss.
Sarcopenia.
Exactly. Your brain demands glucose. It cannot run entirely on fat. If you are fasting and you haven't eaten protein, your body still needs to find glucose for the brain, so it initiates gluconeogenesis.
Which means it starts breaking down your muscles.
It starts breaking down your metabolically active lean muscle tissue, turning your own biceps into amino acids and converting those into glucose just to keep the lights on. When people lose weight quickly through fasting, up to 25% of the weight they lose can be muscle mass. And remember, the heart is a muscle. Progressive muscle loss is highly associated with chronic cardiovascular mortality.
So how do we actually do this safely? If someone is listening and wants the metabolic switch without losing their muscle or stressing their heart, what is the actionable protocol here?
The clinical guidelines are very clear. First, you have to prioritize protein. You need to consume at least 50 grams of high-quality protein per meal during your eating window to hit the leucine threshold required for muscle protein synthesis.
50 grams. Got it. And the second thing?
Second, you must engage in progressive resistance training. You have to signal to your body that your muscles are still actively in use, so it burns the fat in the vault instead of breaking down your lean tissue.
Protein and lifting heavy things. It always comes back to the basics, doesn't it?
Always.
But is there anyone who should just explicitly stay away from this entirely?
Yes, there are strict contraindications. Pregnant and breastfeeding women must absolutely avoid time-restricted eating. Fetal development and lactation require a constant, stable supply of nutrients.
Makes sense. Who else?
Anyone with a history of eating disorders should avoid it, because the rigid structure of a fasting window can easily trigger restrictive or obsessive food behaviors. And crucially, individuals with type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetics who are taking insulin or certain medications face a severe risk of acute hypoglycemia if they fast unsupervised.
Because they could crash.
Right, because the medication is designed to forcefully lower blood sugar. If you aren't bringing any glucose in, you could crash dangerously hard. Medication dosages have to be meticulously managed by a doctor. And on that note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not substitute for professional medical or mental health advice. Please consult a qualified professional for diagnosis and treatment. If you or a family member are in immediate crisis, please call a crisis hotline, dial 988 in the U.S., call 911, or go to the nearest emergency room for assistance.
So, synthesizing everything we've unpacked today,
Yeah.
the pocket change, the circadian clocks in our kidneys, the reproductive security systems, it really changes the perspective.
It does. Our modern world gives us access to a 247 pantry. We have neon-lit convenience stores and food delivery apps that can bring us a full meal at 3 a.m., but our biology is ancient. It is still waiting for the sun to go down.
That's a great way to look at it.
The ultimate goal here isn't about perfectly tracking a 16-hour timer on your phone and punishing yourself if you are 5 minutes early. It's about recognizing that constant digestion is exhausting for the human system. The real benefit is giving your body the simple, ancient gift of a break. allowing the system to clear the table, run the repairs, and tap into the reserves it was designed to use.
I love that.
Which leaves you with one final thought to mull over. If our metabolic windows are entirely dictated by light, if the sun essentially tells our organs when to work, what exactly is the blue light from our phones doing to our bodies at 11 p.m.? Are those late-night doom-scrolling sessions secretly telling our livers to keep the kitchen open even if we haven't eaten a thing?
Oh, that is a scary thought to end on, but so true. If this conversation helped you today, please follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube, and leave us a 5-star review or like, comment, and share the podcast. It helps more people in our community find these resources. We'll talk to you next time.